Have you ever felt like there was something wrong with just being you? Like everything you did, the way you talked, walked, laughed, ate, was being watched, corrected, judged? Have you ever felt ashamed, not for something you did, but just for who you were? This story is about that, about the wound of humiliation, about growing up constantly hearing you were too much, too intense, too sensitive, too weird. About learning to stay quiet, to hide, to fold yourself into pieces just to fit into what others expected of you. And still never feeling like you were enough. This is Emily's story. And maybe somewhere in her story, you'll find yours too. Emily was 5 years old and secretly afraid of going to sleep. It wasn't because of monsters or the dark. She was scared of wetting the bed again. It had already happened twice that week, and in her house, that wasn't something people saw as normal. It was a Saturday. Her grandpa was home, her aunts too. Emily woke up with her pants wet, the cold, damp sheets sticking to her skin. She knew what that meant. Her heart was already racing before anyone even came into the room. She tried to get up by herself to take off her pajamas, but her mom walked in first. "Again, Emily?" she said with disgust, like she was looking at something gross on the floor. "You're way too old for this," she shouted. "Today I'm telling everyone." And she did. At breakfast, sitting on a hard, uncomfortable stool, Emily listened to the adults laughing while her mom joked, "This one still wets the bed. Guess she needs to sleep in diapers, huh, sweetie?" Her grandpa laughed. Her aunt made a face like she was disgusted. Her grandma rolled her eyes and said Emily was just lazy. Emily didn't move. She couldn't even swallow her toast. Her face was burning, her eyes stinging. Her breath got short, like the air had turned thick. She didn't say anything, didn't cry. She just sat there, her little hands clenched under the table, her body all curled up, trying to disappear. That morning, something inside her broke, and no one noticed. The years that followed were full of little cuts like that. Sometimes it was about the way she ate. "Geez, you eat like an animal," her dad would say. Other times it was about her body. "Keep eating like that and you'll explode," her grandma said, laughing. Emily learned that being relaxed was risky. If she ate with joy, she got judged. If she got excited, she was told to shut up. If she danced, it was inappropriate. If she spoke too loud, she was mouthy. By the time she was 8, she was already confused about her own body. She started to notice how adults looked at her with judgment. She was scared to mess up, to draw attention, to get caught doing something wrong. School wasn't any easier. One time, she got a bad grade in math. The teacher made a joke in front of the class. Emily's good with words, but numbers, well, let's just say math's not her friend. The class laughed. Another time, during the end-of-year performance, Emily stuttered during her line. She overheard the coordinator say to another staff member, "This is why we should only give the main roles to the good kids." Emily felt small, like there was always a weight on her chest, an anxiety she didn't know how to name. But she knew one thing: don't cause trouble. So she started adapting. She tried to stay ahead of the criticism, ate less, talked less, started smiling all the time, saying "I'm fine" even when she wasn't. She became the nice girl, the one who never complained, who helped out, who made everyone happy. At 12, her body started to change. At school, a group of boys began making fun of her during recess. "Look at the weirdo," one of them shouted. She pretended not to hear. At home, she said, "Mom, the kids at school are making fun of me." The response was cold. "It's because you're showing off. Button up that shirt, walk properly." That was when Emily started hiding. not in her room, inside herself. She wore baggy clothes, avoided mirrors, spoke with as little emotion as possible, didn't ask for help, didn't cry anymore. She was afraid of being seen, and even more, of being ridiculed. At 17, she posted a picture on social media, just her face, smiling. The next day, someone made a meme with it. They added the caption, "The latest star of emotional Botox." They mocked her stiff smile, laughed at what she thought had been her best shot. She was crushed, missed 2 days of school, deleted all her social media, looked in the mirror and saw a stranger. She was embarrassed just to exist. She tried to talk to her aunt, who said, "Don't be so dramatic, Emily. Grow up. Learn to laugh at yourself." But laughing at herself? That's what she'd been doing all along, to survive. As an adult, Emily became what people like to call too nice. The one everyone praised for putting up with anything. The one who always had a smile, a kind word, a quick fix for every problem. But on the inside, it was pure exhaustion. It was anxiety. It was a deep, heavy emptiness she carried in her chest, like she was constantly owing something to someone. At work, she accepted everything, worked unpaid overtime, never said no, did tasks that weren't hers, and still apologized when things went wrong. At home with her parents, she still felt like the little girl who could disappoint them at any second. She was 28 and still heard, "You need to stop being so sensitive. You take everything too personally. You should be more grateful. We gave you everything." And she thanked them, even when it hurt, even when they treated her with coldness or contempt. Relationships were even worse. She had a boyfriend for 3 years. He made jokes about her body, said she was too heavy to hug properly, complained she was too nice, kind of boring, criticized the way she dressed. Little by little, she started to shrink, stopped wearing makeup, stopped sharing her opinions, started doing everything his way. When she tried to break up, he said, "No one else would put up with you like I do." And she believed him, stayed another year, just enduring it. Told herself, "It's just a phase. He loves me. He just doesn't know how to show it. Maybe I'm overreacting." The wound ran too deep for her to see it clearly, and the mask, it had already fused with her face. At 30, she broke down. In the middle of her shift, after getting a mild critique from her boss, Emily froze. She just stood there, pale, barely breathing. Her hands were shaking, cold sweat. She felt like she was about to faint. They rushed her to the ER thinking it was a heart attack. It wasn't her heart, it was anxiety. The doctor was kind. She asked, "Do you feel like you carry everything on your own?" Emily tried to smile, but she broke. Cried from a place so deep, it felt like it came from her soul. The doctor held her hand and said, "You've learned to endure things no one should ever have to endure." Emily felt those words slice right through her. She stayed silent the whole way home, got inside, laid down on the living room floor, and cried some more. It felt like, for the first time, she had permission to feel. That's where the healing began. But it wasn't pretty, and it wasn't fast. It came in pauses, in remembering childhood moments and feeling that lump in her throat, in realizing how often she still said sorry just for existing. She started writing, started looking in the mirror even if her hands were shaking, started practicing saying no, started accepting help, and even harder, asking for it. She went to therapy, started dancing again, spoke to that 5-year-old inside her and said, "You're not a joke. You're worthy of love." She stepped away from people who only knew how to demand. She learned that real love never comes with humiliation. Today, Emily still feels fear. She still has days when she shrinks into herself. But now she knows. She knows she doesn't need to punish herself anymore. She knows giving until it hurts isn't a virtue. She knows speaking her truth isn't selfish, it's courage. And that being who she is already enough. When we hear a story like Emily's, it's hard not to feel something stir inside. Because even if the details are different, the core of it, that quiet pain of being mocked, ignored, or corrected just for existing, that pain is familiar to a lot of us. Maybe you remembered a moment when someone laughed at you during a family lunch, or that time you were called too dramatic just because you cried. Maybe you thought of how you learned to stay quiet to keep the peace, or how many times you swallowed the urge to say enough and said it's fine instead. They're small memories, sometimes forgotten, but they shape the way we see ourselves. And the hardest part is, that wound doesn't show on your face. It shows in the silences, in the fake smile, in how hard it is to accept a compliment, in the habit of apologizing for everything, in the constant exhaustion of trying to be enough. But maybe what you haven't realized yet is that just the fact that you're still here, still watching, already means something inside you wants to break that cycle. That some part of you, even scared, even hurting, still believes you deserve to live differently. And you do. You deserve to sit at the table without fear of being watched. You deserve to love without shrinking yourself. You deserve to be heard without having to beg for space. You deserve to exist without apologizing for it. We spend so much time trying to fit in places we were never truly welcomed that we forget what it feels like to live in our own bodies with dignity. But this video isn't about fixing everything at once. It's not about becoming a new person overnight. It's about recognizing. It's about looking in the mirror, maybe for the first time, without looking away. It's about realizing that the pattern of giving until you're empty, that's not love, that's survival. It's about understanding that saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you whole. And most of all, it's about starting small, telling someone you trust how you really feel, wearing something that represents you, not something that hides you, taking 5 minutes a day to ask yourself, what do I need right now? That's already a step. That's already a new beginning. And if this touched you in any way, if this story gave you clarity, relief, or even brought a lump to your throat, like this video, drop a comment below about what resonated with you. Share it with someone you know who keeps shrinking themselves to fit in. You could be the turning point in someone's life just by showing them there's another way to live. And don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, because what we started to open up today needs continuity. There's a lot more content coming to help you rebuild your story from the inside out, with truth, with compassion, with space for everything you've held in for so long. And before you go, the next video that's going to pop up is a continuation of this path. It's about how to stop sabotaging yourself in relationships and finally start choosing yourself. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.